sharing. We're just gonna keep it clean now, and I'm just gonna check and to see. I think we're gonna be in there any second now, so that's good. Oh, here we go. We're in. Oh my God. Great. Well, hi everybody. Oh, hang on, I'm going to press that button there. Hi everybody. Welcome along to another Facebook Live in Dog Centre Care. We've got the amazing and inspirational. I'll add that word in because it's true. We're going to find out how that is true to Mo. Hannah Capon. Great. Thanks for coming, Hannah.
Lovely to see you. Really lovely. It's always a pleasure. And
especially because you're on your kind of, on your travels a little bit, haven't you? You've been down my neck.
I'm on my Cornish world tour. Yeah.
Your Cornish world tour. Yeah. Well, it is like a different world, right?
It is, and it has got out of control. I really do need to go home soon.
How long have you been down here now?
I came down here for a week of interviews, and that was the beginning of September, and I haven't gone home yet.
Oh no. Well, it gets quite windy and kind of atmospheric come the winter, so you better decide what you're going to do, I think. Well, it's great to see you, and we've obviously known each other for a while, and I've done some things for you over at CAMS.
Yes.
And as I announced in the group, very honoured to be joining the team as one of the CAM expert advisors. We'll come on to that in a moment. But just to start off then, Hannah, tell us a little bit about you and what your kind of day job is, and what, for those people who don't know.
Okay, so I am a vet, but I am a very standard first opinion practitioner. So I'm not an expert specialist or anything like that. I've been a vet for nearly 20 years now, and I've worked in many places. Once I was told I was quite flitty because I moved jobs so much. But at first I kind of thought, oh God, that's a really bad thing to do, moving around. But now with hindsight, it's been a real blessing because I've worked in 50, 60, 70 practices over the 20 years. And now I have quite a good understanding of how things work in different practices, from the software to the staffing to their attitude to different conditions. And I think that's one of the things that gives me so much confidence to be so blunt, like I am, about how things are acted upon in the vet industry, because I've just got that kind of broad understanding. So yeah, just vet. Very massively interested in pain. Possibly there's a lot of guilt there because 11 years of my career I didn't know what I know now, and I kind of look back and go, oh my God, it's so obvious. I can't believe you were that thick. So I'm a bit like an ex-smoker, but about pain. And I have the lovely Luna. Come say that. I have the lovely Luna.
Hey, Luna, who is, you were telling me off air, she is like the perfect dog, right?
Oh my God, seriously. And people keep saying to me, you must be so good at training dogs. I'm like, I am absolutely useless. She just came pre-programmed and she is perfect in every way. So yeah, I'm a one dog woman. We'll talk about Holly later, but yeah, I'm a one dog, one collie, van dwelling, seafaring, first opinion vet. That's it.
And I think that broad experience of working in different types of practices, as you say, with different kind of personnel and different cultures. When we think about what we're going to unpack a little bit through this conversation and the vision you had with CAMS, I can see how that's been really useful, because on many levels, some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight and the stuff that you've been championing for a while needs a cultural shift.
It does, 100%. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, in that only with the passage of time and looking back and going, what am I actually up to? Because I think most people that are honest about life is you just fuddle your way through. You're like, well, that makes sense. I think that's the right thing to do. I'm not sure. And I look back and I'm thinking, well, what am I trying to do? And it is a cultural change. And I had the most amazing branding experience. I have to tell you about this because it's so interesting. So I got persuaded to have a branding experience which designs who you are, what your logo is going to be, what color scheme, what your fonts, how you behave, who you are. And then from that branding experience, you can create consistency that brings trust and faith and, reliability. That is a consistent presentation from that organization. So therefore I have faith in them. And so I got introduced to this guy, and he turned up at my house and he was beige. There was nothing exciting about him at all. Bald, beige. And he came from nowhere and knocked on the door, and I was like, ooh, this is not going to be very fun, is it? It's going to be dull, it's ditch water. And we spent 4 hours like chatting and brainstorming, and he was really trying to make me think about what I wanted to create. And there was post-it notes everywhere in the conservatory. And he started kind of like grouping these post-it notes of different words and thoughts together. And he came up with who I wanted Cam to be. And all the time he was pushing for a hashtag, and he was pushing for the brand mission, what we were trying to do. And about 3.5 hours in, when I was really beginning to kind of go, this is seriously hard work, I suddenly went, initiating change. I'm trying to change. And he was like, there, got it, that's it. Because we're initiating change within the dog. We're initiating change within the owner. We're initiating change in the disease. We're initiating change in the profession. And it just, to me, was just like this, whew, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And yeah, the hashtag, it started off as get your dog back, your dog's back or something like that. And it was like, no, it's not your dog more years. But what's fascinating, funny about the story. So all of this happens. And when he finished, he got his bag and he took out the loudest coat, the most coolest hat, took off his boring specs and put on some really funky, got his superb mountain bike out from the side of the house. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And he was like, I have to come in and not influence you. I have to be bland. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you don't live like that, because it would be a bad place to live. So,
Right.
Yeah, totally cool dude. But he had to be personalityless so that it didn't influence what I wanted to create or what anybody wants to create. Quite cool, isn't it?
It is cool. And also, I think many people resonate with that because we all have a vision or we have a kind of a drive and a momentum. But actually thinking about how you package that, what it is, how you communicate that, is actually harder than you might think, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
first impressions count so much. When you think about it, I was chatting to a vet the other day, and she still had the same opinion about a practice that she had received a referral letter from 15 years before. And she felt that the referral letter was really unprofessional. I was like, but there's 5 vets that work at that practice, and it was 15 years ago. She's like, I know, first impressions are terrible. And it does count, sadly.
And trying to boil down the whole kind of raison d'etre of what you want to do as well, that's a bit of a challenge. Like say into a hashtag or into just a line. I think I loved how we're going to build on all these different things, because my mind's buzzing out a few things already. But because this thing about initiating change, you spoke about the different kind of players in this, and this is something we've got to really think about especially when we think about supporting chronic illnesses and the role of pain, and also the prevention of a lot of this stuff, because that's a big part of what CAMS does, which is like, we can prevent a lot as well as support those who have it. But it's recognizing the kind of triadic relationship, because you've got the caregiver, you've got the dog, and you've got the professional. And you and I have spoken a lot off air and on air when I've come into CAMS for some chats about the kind of work that we have to do to try and find better middle ground for that communication and for that trust, and for us to try and seek those best outcomes.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the thing is with the current state of affairs, like in the vet profession, and this is not any kind of negativity towards them, the pressure on vets at the moment is insane. And that's not just the current situation with COVID, Brexit, blah, 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 but also academically, the knowledge base that these people have to have and be able to immediately resource and deliver in a consult room, in a clinical exam, out back in prep, in the theatre is just obscene now. And so when you're doing CPD and further education and further enlightenment, it has to have a little bit of focus, and the focus is going to be the scientific factual content. So if you go to CPD as a vet about arthritis, it's going to be talking about the joint environment and about the interventions and the surgical interventions and the therapeutics, but there's very little time available to talk about client coaching, client identification, client empowerment, client engagement. And actually that's where I feel that CAM's really trying to kind of step in and go, look, this is an area, this is a swampland that needs to be dealt with, because if you don't have the client on board, nothing else is going to work. And so what we want to try and do is work with the profession and say, look, we're just filling in the gaps, you know. So say you've got a big jar and you've got all these big golf balls of therapeutics and pharmaceuticals and interventions with the sand that's going to go in, because we're going to try and help the owners understand, engage, better communication, blah, 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 blah. Fingers crossed, it all comes together.
Do you think, especially with arthritis, chronic pain, pain relief in general, there is a tendency for a lot of vets to go through their education and find that they get swept away with the job, and actually finding the chance to be able to deep dive into some of that and to move with a more connected approach? Because I know on my side of the fence, on my industry, pain and behaviour is becoming a bigger aspect now that we look at. But it's a similar thing where you've got a lot of professionals who are looking at CPD invariably a lot of the time to look at how to do the how more, but not necessarily focusing on the why enough. And from my experience of some vets, not all I know, there is a bit of a mechanical bias there about the how do we do this, what operations do we do, how do we do that, rather than thinking about the why and the preventative stuff, and also that connectivity with the caregiver. Do you think there's some of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think people are overwhelmed. Like, look at me, I've taken a year out to spend it on CAM, and I'm going back into first opinion practice now. Just within, you know, the morning consults, we'll be jumping from eyes to heart to skin to GI problem, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I don't feel current. You know, I cannot know all of these different areas to the degree that I wish that I could know. So let's chuck in a little bit of, you know, sociology and psychology, and let's put a little bit of mind mapping and life coaching. You're like, whoa, this is huge. And we've all got a definitive amount of time. So I've just finished work. I left for work at 7:30. I was there working as of 8:30. I left work at 5:30. I got home at 6:30. Where is more time? And I think what I really strongly feel is that we've got to be more understanding and forgiving to people before we kind of just keep going, oh, we're lacking this, we're missing that. So first of all, there is a definitive for everybody. Everybody's got a finite amount of available brain space and time. But having got that little kind of disclaimer out of the way, I think, yeah, I do think that we should spend more time talking about client communication, client engagement, client empowerment, client continuity of care, etc. It can be neglected because it's just busy. You know, we've gone up, how many is it? I think we've gone up in pet ownership by another 25 to 30% in the COVID era. That's nuts. I think it was 9 million dogs in the UK, and it's now 12.5 million. It's crazy. So, you know, the vet practices are just gripping on for dear life at the moment.
And that's a bigger point, isn't it? Do you think the way we've done the traditionally vet practice, vet consults, the whole makeup of it really, is there a thought that isn't as fit for purpose now with all these extra things we're thinking about and what we're looking at, what we consider to be best outcomes?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like the vet industry is changing rapidly. So like the things that are happening now, telehealth, for example, is just off the Richter scale. I do some work for First Vets, which means that I'm headset on, you know, and that is busy. That is really busy. And if you get your insurance provides you with unlimited access to telehealth to keep the insurance costs low, because that's better that you speak to somebody on the phone who says, actually, no, you don't need to see the vet because of that. That's reducing their costs. But owners are now able to access a vet by video phone 24/7, 365. And that's a huge change, isn't it? That's a huge change. During COVID, we were allowed to prescribe via telehealth without actually handling the animals. We've changed that again. The Royal College has said, okay, COVID's not so bad now. I'm afraid we're going to take away the rights for you to remotely prescribe. You do need to have actually had physical contact with the animal before you do any prescription medicine. So that's happening now. It's very competitive. There's a lot of players on the market trying to get that piece of the pie. So costs are very cheap. You know, it's very affordable. But we've got the future. And I was chatting to somebody who attended the Mars kind of like digital symposium. So Mars are the biggest family-owned organization in the world, and they are the biggest employer of vets in the world. So Mars Pet Care, so their Pedigree, their Royal Canin, they own oh my God, there's so many vets. They in here in the UK, they're Linnaeus. Over in the States, they're Banfield and VCA. They employ like 25,000 vets around the globe, or maybe specialists. So what they see as the future is that the vets start telling the owners when to come in through these automated processes because of digital technology. So if the dog is not exercising as much, if it's possibly going to the water bowl more because of beacon sensors, if it seems to be sleeping more, if it's going to the bowl with the food less, all these things are going to kind of collate this picture of there's a quite profound change in your dog's normal behavior. I think you need to see a vet. Oh my God, that's nuts, isn't it? So the industry is changing a lot, and the truth behind it is it's profitable. It's hugely profitable, and when there's profit to be made, there's going to be huge innovations, isn't there? So over the next decade, I think we're going to see a huge change in the way that the vet consult is run.
Do you think that might shift by that nature to more of a task-orientated care structure rather than a kind of more traditional care-orientated one at those first steps?
What do you mean by that? Explain.
So kind of, going through like the tasks as in the ticky box thing, this is this is that, rather than like it is at the moment. You go and see your vet, their eyes are on that dog, they're looking at it, they're looking at the kind of overall care for that dog. Do you think that bit of the care will come later down that line because of the
there's going to be a filtering? Yeah, I think there's going to be a massive filtering system, because vet AI technology is going very much the same as human AI technology, where you plug in your symptoms and it creates an algorithm of these are the most likely differentials and these are therefore the likely next steps. So yeah, I totally agree. There's going to be like a digital interface between your first contact. Whether that happens in the next few, it's going to happen soon. Things are changing really quickly.
And with your interest, your area of interest, I want us to come on to the specifics about CAMS in a moment. and
we're going to be out of date in no time. I lay in bed at night going.
I think you're ahead of the curve though at the moment, aren't you, on a lot of stuff? So I think that's good to kind of at least be kind of because you've embraced a lot of stuff, haven't you, CAMS? A lot of how you promote social media, using technology, using various campaigns. These are quite forward thinking, aren't they?
It's so much more simplistic than that. I wish that I had the brain that you think I have, because I don't. But I just wanted people to stop thinking that arthritis was boring. I had somebody go on a journey with me. So I'm in a vet practice. It's somewhere that I've been many times. I know all the staff really well. And I just get the Vet Times, which is the major vet publication. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the front cover. So I go and say to my colleague, my friend, check it out, front cover. And they're like, oh yeah, what about? And I was like, oh, arthritis. I went, oh God, are you not bored of that yet? And I was like, ooh. No, no, I'm not. But that attitude, oh Jesus, I was so kind of like, right, what is this negativity? It's this neglected disease that's in a shoebox at the back of the wardrobe that no one seems to pay attention to. And I just wanted to be wild about it. I want to be outlandish about it. I want to be controversial, but I want to be trendy, and I want people to kind of engage with it and want to talk about it. I want people to talk about it. So that's the colour scheme. We want to be lighthearted. We want to be engaged. We want to be simplistic. We want to be brilliant at communication. We want to work with our clients because they are the people that are working with that dog. So no, I'm not as clever as you think I am. I just wanted it to be trendy.
I'll always be a big cheerleader for you, Hannah. So but thank you for being humble. That's always nice as well. But I think, even what you just said there, that's quite inspiring, right? To take something that for a long time we've been quite complacent about and we've kind of accepted, and it's always been seen as being just the nature of things, You've made it something that's really got people thinking. I'll have to say now, my own dog Arthur, he's got spondylosis and he's got arthritis in his back legs. If it wasn't for my influence through you with CAMS and also Sarah Fisher, I would never have been able to do the observations that I do both with my clients and also with Arthur. And we've got in there early with him. So we're able to give him that relief now. And probably, my vets reckon we've probably given him a good 18 months extra of active life because we've got in there early. We've made adaptations to his kind of his daily routines, and it makes a big difference, right?
It does. And what I love about it is that it's just when the light bulbs start going off, you can just see people go, oh, this makes so much sense. So I was chatting to a nurse today. So I was locoming at a practice in Truro, give them a shout out, St Clement's, lovely people, and just chatting to this really cool nurse, what was her name, Faye, and we were talking about our attitudes to pain management, chronic pain management. And she was like, what is it that's got you? And I was like, why do we worm? Why do we vaccinate? Why do we give flea administrations? We do it without thinking about it. It's cemented in the way that we manage animals. This is preventative healthcare for things that are probably never going to be a problem with that dog, but we're so secure on how we do it. Arthritis is going to hit nearly every dog, but we do nothing about it. It is the leading cause of euthanasia. It's the leading cause of suffering, and we do nothing about it. Isn't that a bit freaking weird? And you could just see it go, oh my God, that's just, the penny just dropped. And it once you start having those pennies drop, and then also like the other one, owners want vets to give them ways to manage their dogs that aren't going to be costly. Well, let's attack it early. Let's get the weight under control. Let's do the lifestyle changes. Let's stop throwing the ball. Let's stop them jumping in and out of the car and flaring it up, because we can go to a state where we're not having these spikes in pain state and the dog is consistently okay. And that's just on maybe a prescription diet, for example, or just a weight loss plan, or seeing the physiotherapist with some controlled exercise once a month. We haven't delved into the world of anti-inflammatories with adjunct medication because we need to be there. This is what everybody wants. It's just, the dog's going, just someone help me, just someone listen to me. It's 2 years I've been telling you, I've been paid. So all of us want this. It's just trying to communicate it, isn't it, really?
So I've just made a few little notes there because I want to look at some of the specifics around, especially talking about pain management, and especially some of the things that we can do to try and avoid some of these things, or at least remove some of the kind of chronic elements of the conditions. I'm just going to whiz back in time a little bit now because I really want to touch on this, as it seems to be the case with many people that I've spoken to regarding their inspiration and their motivation to do what they've done. It comes from personal experience. And of course we have to credit the wonderful Holly, who was that muse for you on this, that dog who really made you think, even as a vet, hang on, things need to change, things need to be different. Tell us a little bit about Holly and Holly's story, and also about Holly's army.
Well, there is a video called Holly's Story, so please do type it into YouTube and go and check it out. It might make you cry. Holly was my first owned dog. So we've always had family dogs, but she was mine, and she was a very, very inspirational dog. Luna is like the princess, whereas Holly was the queen, and she had that regal attitude, which means I don't give about I'm going to do my own thing. But we just did everything together. And I think the fact, there's so many elements to this, that I detected disease in her late. I was like, this is bad. I do everything with you, and I didn't know. This is awful. So she had lumbosacral disease, she had cervical disc disease, she had late stage, she had cruciate in her right hind. She carried discomfort and still continued to lead quite an amazing life with me. And I had so many moments where if I'd known better, I think I could have caught the disease earlier and I could have handled it differently. So that's one aspect. She taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about being the owner, medicating, putting these preventative strategies in place, modifying exercise, thinking ahead of the game. One day she misjudged the stairs, fell down the stairs. Oh my God, crucifix. I should have known. you know, when she got out of the car and tripped over, and I'm like, I should have known. We went and did hydrotherapy, and she came out on such a buzz of endorphins. She was like, I'm amazing. I didn't have her on a lead. She jumped down some steps and stumbled. And I was like, you are teaching me so much. So incredible. But I think I really needed to see it from an owner perspective of the swamp of information that we live in, because I was vulnerable. You know, I'd cry at night because I couldn't make her better. I'm going to cry. And I was the owner going online looking for anything. The last year of her life, last month, I spent £3,500. You know, it was crazy what I would do just to try and make her happy. So we'd have to change the subject because I'm going to cry. But she was just a huge influence on me for so many different angles. And she was the one that we did the big walk, the first big walk with. So let's just detour there. We ended up doing a 100-mile walk over 8 days. We did the South Downs Way, and she was 15 at the time. And I managed to do it over 8 days with a dog trolley. So we carried everything that we had, tents, sleeping bags, all our food. And we were going up and down these beacons. Oh my God, it was so hard work. I had to have her tied to me just in case I let go of the trolley going downhill. You know, your dog disappearing downhill in a trolley. It was amazing. It is a part of my life that I would do again and again. You know, getting to the end of the day where you've walked 25 miles, pushing this trolley and getting into a little tent with your dog, with your little gas stove, having dinner, snuggling up for the night. She came out of that walk like a different dog. That 8 days together. So she'd started off pretty cranky, she had a lot of problems, but the little and often exercise, the engagement, the time with me, the new environment, you know, being able to have a little bit of exercise and then having a rest in the trolley. I just was learning so much, and it was all possible. Everybody can do this, you know, these lifestyle changes are so powerful. We just don't talk to our owners enough about them. And that's what Cam's trying to do, is kind of give all the stuff that you wouldn't have time in a consult to ever cover. And the owner would never probably listen because they're thinking about drugs and thinking about supplements and thinking about diets. I want to give people the kind of big comfort blanket, but you can do this, you can do that. So yeah, Holly's amazing. And she has an army, by the way, just so you know. She does have an army with 11,000 owners in it, which
amazing.
And a book. She has a children's book too.
And this is the give us the title of the book. It's just come out recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, Why Don't You Listen?
Yeah.
It's
such an important thing. And I think this is what I really want people to take away from today. We're going to talk about some specifics in a moment. That whether you're a trainer, a vet, a groomer, CAMS is the resource to send people to, because I find a lot of caregivers, you said that word vulnerable, right? I think we've discussed before about things like,
she died in 2019, and I still cry. 2018. Yeah, we the first time we started talking was about anticipatory grief. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I put a shout out on Cam just saying I'm really struggling with my anticipatory grief, and I couldn't believe it rocketed. It was one of those wild card posts where I didn't do it because I wanted attention. I just wanted to know if other people had this problem, and I'd had it for years where just thinking about losing her, I would lose it. And it's now 2021. You know, this is 3 years ago. I still find it hard to talk about it. And I just think that if we want owners to engage with our treatment plans, we want them to identify early, we want them to listen to our advice and take it on board, we have to understand their emotional journey as well. And I think there needs to be allowance for that. And unfortunately, in the vet clinic, it just is not the place. There's not the time, it's not the right environment, it's not the right training. So yeah, it's important that Cam is kind and embracing and warm.
And that's the part, as I say, because I remember that was one of the first chats we had, I think, in the CAMS professional group, I think, talking about anticipatory grief and that vulnerability that caregivers have, especially when they're aware that there is a fundamental shift coming in that relationship with their dog, their animal. And it can go one of two ways. I think some people can kind of be in denial about that, so they'll still do the same walks, they'll still do the same things, and they'll come up with these kind of excuses in their own head about, you know, why the dog isn't managing so much. Or they can go the other way, and that's not do anything at all. And what you gave there as a great example with Holly is that there is a middle ground to be found together. You can still have those experiences, you can still enjoy life, you can still find different ways through, but it's having access to some of those ideas, and for people, especially caregivers, to be inspired to think about how that can look differently. And that's why I think CAMS is so important as a resource, because it's very non-judgmental. It's very welcoming. It's very warm, as you say. It's actually quite light-hearted at times, which is important because we need to have that accessibility for people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I have to say thank you to somebody called Mrs. Saunders, so Leslie Saunders. I looked after a dog called Max, and this would have been about 2016, 17. And one day we were chatting, and we'd just done a treatment on Max, and I was like, "You're all right?" And she's like, "I live with my husband and I live with my son, and I feel lonely." And I was like, wow. She's like, "I am his main caregiver, and I don't feel that I can talk to anybody about how I feel about, you know, he is on the decline, and they don't get me. They don't understand what I'm thinking." And I was like, that's really true. You know, I'd experienced it myself, where people couldn't really understand my such strong attachment to my dog. You know, my dog slipped down some steps once, and my 78-year-old father was nearby, and I was like, "Why didn't you grab her?" And he was like, "I'm 78, Hannah, I don't walk that fast anymore." And you're like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but she's really important," you know. And I think I just want people to have a place where they can go that other people will get them. I'll tell you this story because it might make people cry a bit. So it was Christmas, and it was, again, 2018, and this post appeared on Holly's Army, and it was a girl saying, "I need to talk to people that get me. The family is here for Christmas. You know, I've just come downstairs and my family are throwing a ball across the slippery kitchen floor for my 15-year-old Staffordshire Bull Terrier who is really, really struggling with arthritis. I lost the plot on Christmas Day at my family, and I'm now upstairs crying my eyes out." And I was like, "I totally get it. I'm there with you." And it was obviously a sad story, but it felt so good for her to be able to have somewhere where everybody went, "Get you, I get you, I get you. I totally would have done the same. You're not a bad person." So that's what we're trying to do as well.
And this is what I've loved about our first bit of this chat, really, is to look at some of the personal aspects. And I know how difficult it is. It's difficult when I share stories about Milo. He was very much my soul dog, and he died in 2017. It's a long time ago. And it still feels just as raw today. I don't think we move forwards with our lives, but we definitely don't move on from that connection, and it's always there. But I think it's important, Hannah, for somebody with your profile and with what you've created with CAMS, there's going to be so many people listening who are going to really resonate with that personal human side of it. And that notion of being lonely, you can have loads of people around you, but in that context, on that emotional level, you can feel really lonely, especially if you feel other people aren't getting it. And there are some challenges within the vets with the kind of 10-minute clinic window, whatever else. But I know there's more and more vets now, when there's a chronic condition being identified, that are handing over to the vet nurses who can spend more time and discuss things. And I think from my side of the fence, so my kind of community industry, I think as trainers and behaviourists, we have to recognise that we are a really good person to have that supportive ear. And to be another spoke in that wheel of support around that dog and connecting.
You will love it. I did a webinar for London Vet Show last night, the night before, and it's about the multidisciplinary team. And there was a couple of slides where I'm putting in key quotes that I've heard from, you know, good key opinion leaders, specialists, etc. And there's a slide where I'm like, your multidisciplinary team has the trainer, the behaviourist, because these behaviours that come with pain are not going to switch off when the pain goes. And you really do need to be thinking more outside the box. And that if that owner is unaware about pain, they're not educated about pain, which is normal, don't worry about it. But they come to you and their dog's behaving differently. they're maybe posturing differently, their capability has changed, but they're like, oh yeah, actually he's become a little bit snappy with people. And you as the vet are really proud of yourself because you've identified the pain. You're like, whoa, yeah, in the back, I'm good. And you're like, yeah, so we're going to put him on a non-steroidal trial, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, what about the behavior? You know, that's what the owner came to you with. That was the problem in the consult. They didn't know about pain, they didn't know about the disease. The problem is still the behavior, and we need to expand our multidisciplinary team to look at that aspect as well, because what we want is the owner to engage, get the result that they want, which is a dog that's happy in their home, happy with them, they're happy with the dog. It's not all just about medicating. You know, it's not, there's still more work to be done.
And that's really important point there. And I think, you know, I've had it's, I don't know, it's as a result of us using video software more like Zoom and that kind of thing, or whether it is a bit of a shift. But in the last couple of years, I've had a lot more multi-agency meetings for dogs. I had one with Gwen Kobe Crump, who's going to be a camp. She is amazing, right? So we had in that one, we had Gwen, my friend Kate, who's the physio. We had the dog walker. Yep. We had myself, and we had the vet and the client.
That's
so all in a Zoom room. And I know that can't happen all the time, but some cases you come across where you know that it is multifactorial. It is not just one thing. And getting something like Gwen on board, of course, who really understands the nuances of pain management and pain trials, is really important. And there's more and more from my side of the fence now, where behaviorists and trainers are learning more about you know, anatomy and pain and the relation things and what to look out for and some of the signs, where we're relaying back to the vets. You know, I'm very lucky. I have a great relationship with my friend Kate, who's a physio, and she's really great, not just on the mechanical stuff, but also on the nervous system stuff and everything else. And it really helps to have a connection there and building up a connection with the clinical team. My experience has been, when I first started, and I hear this a lot from behaviorists and trainers who are, oh God, you know, we're going to have to work with vets, and you know, because we've all got imposter syndrome,
really
right?
Intimidating, and they're really intolerant.
But you know, when I've spoken to all my vet colleagues, they're the same. They're like, oh my God, the behaviorist is coming in. Oh my God. So actually, we've just got to talk to each other and communicate.
Learn to talk to each other, and we also need to have a conversation of, don't worry how you talk to me, because do you remember me saying, oh, it might be Michael Shikashio, I can't remember. I think it was you and Michael Shikashio. I was like, I'm just going to use the wrong terminology and I'm going to look like a pleb. You know, his behavior, if you say the wrong words, people are like, oh, she's so out of date. How dare she? I actually better just say nothing. Actually, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and just pretend it doesn't even exist. We've got to learn to be more tolerant of each other and praise someone for stepping over that line into that realm of, I'm not comfortable in this zone, but I know I need to go there. And, you know, if a physio comes to me and starts talking to me and hoping to try and, you know, connect me, be open and be like, yeah, dude, you nearly got it right. I'd probably say this, but don't worry about it. I got what you meant. And the same vice versa. So, yeah.
And I think being available to hear each other is really important, because it can be very easy for anybody in that kind of group of people to not be available to listening. So we can have the client who isn't really listening because for many reasons, like we said earlier, they could be their own emotional experiences stopping them from being aware of some things. You can have the client who's trying to tell the clinician something, but that is being dismissed. And you can have it from the trainer, you can have it from all those different things going around. And I've worked on several cases where the challenge is actually trying to get everybody just to kind of come around the campfire, if you like, and talk about things in a way that is focused on the dog's need.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of my dreams in the next couple of years, to start like an annual CAM event where we have all the different disciplines, and they're just back to back like lectures with, you know, round tables where you put a dog trainer next to an orthopedic surgeon, next to a physiotherapist, and because the disease is just insane, you know, what impact it has on the dog, the owner, the clinical team. I was really lucky to just create some stuff for lint bows, and I really enjoyed it because the the project was how can we engage the whole practice and look at it from the practice management, look at it from the nurse, look at it from the nursing assistant, look at it from the receptionist, look at it from the vet. How can all the team get what their role and how important it is? And let's expand it, let's bring in everybody else. And I'd love to do like an annual event and get people like you to come and chat alongside somebody else, you know, who has a very different angle at the disease. I think it'd be fascinating. But then,
oh, well, make it happen. As somebody from Star Trek said, I think.
Can somebody find my very, very financially comfortable fairy godfather, please?
Well, I'm sure there might be somebody listening, you never know, but some of these things can almost be, you know, who knows? If anybody could do it, Hannah, you could, I'm sure.
Oh,
but I think it is important. I've got something that my physio friend actually had put forwards, and I've ended up doing it down here. And this is something for my colleagues listening, if you have connections with clinical teams and that. I sent Kate set up an initial little few ideas about a physiological checklist, things to look out for, like, you know, the things that we might see about struggling to get into cars, like say, or you know, excessively licking, or all these kind of little things that we might see. And then I just passed it around to my vet friends, and they all added to it. So now we've got a list of 20 things that we can all use as a central thing to look at. So I can send it to a client, Kate can send it to a client, the vet could look at it. And these are things that might be behavioral considerations, physical gait considerations, or general environmental things. And I think that's something we need to think about down the line, is all those spokes on the wheel, finding that common vocabulary and those common outlooks.
Yeah. I told you, but even before that, so because I brainstorm all the time, it has been an obsession since 2012. You can only but engage people if they're even aware it's a problem. So, like, say I'm driving along, like, oh, actually, let's use my van as an example at the moment. I'm driving along at the moment, and I don't know there's anything wrong with it, just going along. And I've got an indicator come up that something is wrong with my van, you know, the reservoir light and the battery light's on. I now need to go and learn more. And what we've got is that there is information out there, but people don't think it's applicable to them. And to actually be talking to people when their dog's a puppy and saying, there ain't no way you're going to miss this disease. You're going to have some serious, miraculous intervention for your dog not to get arthritis. So should we talk about it now so that you're going to be ahead of the curve? And I honestly believe that we should be talking about this back as a puppy.
As we know so much about how much future disease is actually the starting points, the seeds for that is actually in that first 12 months of life for many of these dogs. Why do you think that isn't being discussed at puppy parties and vets and initial pup consults and puppy classes with trainers?
Because there is too much to talk about. Yeah, it's so there was a study done looking at what patients would remember from a consultation, and 25 to 44% of what is talked about during a human consultation is remembered. 50% of it's wrong. So when you look at the opportunity of actually trying to disseminate information, you just have a definitive space. And I think at the moment, osteoarthritis isn't a priority, but that's why we're trying to make it trendy. So people start going, oh, this needs to be pushed up the list, because they're talking about vaccinating, neutering, worming, behaviours, socialization, good diets, you know, and yeah, we've just got to keep pushing to make OA push up that list, a bit like, you know, top of the pops chart, pushing it up.
And it's really important, though, isn't it? I think the one good thing about some of the things that I see happening now in my community, as we kind of look beyond the usual training biases that we've had, beyond, not instead of, so I always like to throw that in, and this notion about slowing things down and doing better observations and really trying to be in tune with some of the small things, this actually fits a lot better with this kind of approach, because even with some of the more kind of progressive puppy classes now, where they're looking more about slowing things down, learning from the pup. Gives them a great opportunity to be able to talk to people about maybe you shouldn't be thinking about the ball, maybe that isn't so good for the pup because they're not going to process so much and they're going to be less available to a lot of the experimental learning that they would normally do if they're just chasing balls. And being able to educate about the kind of modern homes we have, which just aren't very joint friendly, right? It's a big thing I know you talk about a lot.
More rugs, less drugs.
Sorry?
More rugs, less drugs.
More rugs, less drugs. So this is a good thing, I think, for anybody, especially with this through dog centre care. A lot of the people in the group are thinking about things a bit differently. I think this is a really important component to be building into our connection with our clients. From my point of view, I always think physiology first, always, because most of the cases I work with, there ends up being an element of that. Especially, I work a lot with dogs who have social engagement issues with other dogs, social sensitivities, and there is a high tendency for lumbosacral kind of presentations there. And it makes sense when you think about it, because that back end is so important for a dog regarding social engagement. So they almost end up becoming defensive behaviours more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, when you were just like that, I was thinking about a case I saw today, and they came in for a vaccine. The next thing on their list of priorities was the dog's got some form of allergic skin disease, so it's licking and chewing a lot. No one had noticed the way it walked. So it was a French bulldog, very straight-legged, a little bit of a twist when it placed its foot, tremor, so muscle fasciculation. I was like, what's going on with your dog's back legs? I obviously didn't do that. No, I am very professional. But just whilst talking about the vaccine, talking about the allergic skin disease, getting the hands on, feeling down, kneecaps popping in and out, left, right, and centre. You know, it's identifying the clues, isn't it? But also trying to merge them into a consultation. It is difficult. I'm getting better at it. But it is picking up on these like observations that are not normal, trying to kind of quickly elucidate what's going on and communicate what you're finding. But I would definitely say, I'm tangenting now, 75% of the dogs that I see for other things have got musculoskeletal issues. And it's kind of like, deal with that. I'm just going to also add, because it's so prevalent. It's so prevalent. I've totally tangented on that question. So sorry.
No, but it is. But this is the point. This is the bigger side of it, isn't it? And I think this is why it's really important, again, with CAMS and people like Gemma Hodson and Sarah Fisher and others, there are many, who are helping to educate other professionals around some of the things to look out for, and that because the dogs invariably spend more time with the groomer, the trainer, the dog walker, than they do with the vet. And actually that information that's gained, I have the luxury of a couple of hours with each time I see a client, and there's a lot of information that I can evidence base there back to the clinical team. So we've got to make sure these kind of conduits are open. We can't have them clogged up or blocked. No,
and it's got to be both sides. I hate to say it, I think the vet sector has got a reputation of being a bit of a closed book and not being receptive to outside information. I've seen it loads and loads of times where somebody's trying to communicate, I've seen this with the dog, what do you think? And they've had the door shut on them. But then also I think that the canine professional side need to be more understanding of the pressures that are on the vet section. So for example, let's just go through a typical case here. Say a dog comes to me and he's been to see the groomer, and the groomer's flags up to the owner that he's sitting not quite correctly, or he's not tolerated grooming around his back legs, and they think there's maybe a little bit of a problem there. So the owner comes in to see me, and I get a Chinese whisper story of groomer thinks something wrong with the dog. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And you watch the dog in, and they're absolutely bright as a button. They're so kind of like, oh, I'm at the vet. And I'm doing anything today. And then you start examining the dog, and you're like, I'm not seeing what they're seeing. I don't feel what they're feeling. Do I take the risk twofold of prescribing a medication that might not be needed, that could have an adverse event, spending that owner's money on something that might not be there and losing their faith in the vet profession? Listen to the groomer that there might be something wrong. Do kind of get into that vet's head of, do you really want to rock the boat when you're not actually sure that there's anything there? And so I can see it I really can see it from both sides. So we just need to improve that communication. That's why we have the suspicion of chronic pain PDF. It's available on the website. Please use it. And can I just big up the CAM Advocate course? So if you are a group or a doctor, I didn't even get permission, but I'm still going. I'm just speaking really quickly. If you're a canine professional and you're thinking, I want to know more, I want to work with the vet, there is the CAM Advocate Level 1 course, and it's totally affordable. It's $180 for like 12 modules of me going crazy about something I'm really passionate about. And I'm hoping that starts getting us to sing from the same song sheet for these dogs that we love.
Yeah, and I was going to come on to the CAM Advocate course. So we must make sure we put the links in the chat today, and also I'll make sure we share it in the major dog centre care group, because it's really important. I think this is the thing about having the more we know, the more we can evidence base. And I think from my point of view, I can only talk personally, but there are vets that I've worked with, and it's taken me a long time to build that trust both ways. And a lot of that comes from evidence basing, and then getting to that point where we can have a lot easier conversations, quite candid ones. I had a dog recently that I was convinced there was some pain. The vet actually was convinced that actually it was kind of a traveling flea style thing that was causing that. And guess what? The vet was right. So that's the point. Yeah. It's just recognizing that. And also from our point of view, making sure, I love how Sarah Fisher uses her question mark, making sure the non-clinical team are just putting question marks there, not making statements of fact, especially to clients, because then that puts the client and the vet in a very difficult situation. My behaviour said this and that's it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can you imagine being that owner where you've got the person that you have a cup of tea with and you see 3 or 4 times a week because they're your dog walk, and you've got this lovely, friendly relationship. They're telling you one thing, and then you go into your vet who there's a little bit of respect still left there. You listen to them and you're going, well, they know their stuff because that's what they do. And you just imagine you've been pulled. Who do you believe? So legally, only vets are allowed to diagnose. So to keep your nose clean and to go into this with best practice, you can plant ideas, you can suggest, but you certainly cannot make claims. So the sort of thing you could say is like, I'm a bit concerned about the way that your dog's walking, or his behavior is not being quite what I expect. And personally, if it was my dog, I'd really get it checked out, because one possibility could be there's an underlying pain component. So you're allowed to plant seeds, and then ideally you try and communicate that to the vet before you got there. And that's where suspicion of chronic pain PDF is available. Questionnaire on CAM you can download and use is available. And just write an email or phone up and just say, see this dog, I was doing a groom, I was doing a dog walk, I was doing a training session. These are the things I saw. Over to you. Do what you're good at. It always helps massage a bit of ego. Do what you're good at. Hey. I just think our communication and looking after each other and caring for each other needs to improve, really.
That's really important. And there's been a very, there's been a kind of anti-vet thing going on for the last few years. It's been.
Why would you not like me?
Exactly, and I think this is the point. Who is a vet anyway? Who is the vet?
A person.
It's when people talk about people. Who are people? We're individuals, and there are good vets and not so good vets. There's good behaviourists, not so good behaviourists. That's the point, and we can't just damn a whole profession. And I think one part of the problem I feel, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think because we're so used to, especially in the UK, having the NHS and a lot of free at point of care, the notion of care having a private kind of business element is something that people can struggle with. And I think they don't understand the pressures. They also don't understand the actual small margins that most practices work around. I think everybody presumes all vets have a Rolls Royce or a Jaguar, and
No. More than happy to say most vets' salaries, if they're full-time, 15 to 30 years qualified GP, they're going to be 50 to 60 grand a year. And that's full-time. That's not 9 till 5. That's going to be 8 till 7, and it's going to be chucking in some Saturdays, chucking in some on call. It's not huge salaries, in London, maybe different. But when you look at that, you're like, well, actually, that's not this, elitist profession. My brother, who's a site manager, he used to be, he was same stacking as me. He didn't go to university for 6 years. I love my brother, but I just want people to put it into context. It's not this kind of superbly paid profession that people think it is. And I just wish people would be kinder. I had a legal situation recently, 2 letters, £2,500.
Yeah, and there's also the consideration of the costs of equipment and treatments and all these extra things that kind of hit the practice.
Yeah, lawyers don't have MRIs, they don't have CTs, they don't have blood machines, they have typewriters.
Yeah. Wind up ones. Yeah. And I think this is something else as well. When I used to do before COVID, I haven't done it since, but pre-COVID, I did behavioural clinics at a couple of different practices, and I had the luxury of 20 minutes. I had the luxury of a full history form beforehand, so they had to fill that in, so I already knew who was coming in the door. And I'd only do 6. I'd do 6 at a time, so 6 20 minutes basically. So that's like a couple of hours, and it was exhausting. And I think, my God, my vet colleagues are doing what, 10 minutes a day or something like that. It's just yeah.
On average, you'd a typical vet day will be go in and maybe start at 8:30, and you've got probably about 4 to 6 consults. Then you might go and do ops, and then you've got your lunch kind of consults, which would be another, say, 10 to 15 minutes. And then you'll do maybe all the written prescriptions, and then you've got your maybe early afternoon into evening. Yeah, you're doing blocks of an hour and a half consults. Sometimes when I started, you do 4 hours straight consulting. 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I think that's important for us as behaviourists as well to recognise when we can all get a bit frustrated with our clinical colleagues. I'm sure our clinical colleagues get frustrated with us, but I think it is important to step back sometimes and just think about the pressures that are on. We're coming up to the hour soon, but I just want to talk about a couple more things. So what are the big things that you feel that people need to be aware of regarding both the prevention of and the awareness of when they already have it, that people can take away from today? Obviously, there's tons of stuff, and there's loads of stuff on the CAMS website, but the main things for you, if you had to have 5 minutes with somebody to talk about arthritis, especially from a prevention point of view, what are the main things that you'd want people to take away?
I think, first of all, we've got to really accept that this isn't an acceptable inevitable. I did a post, I do Blunt Mondays. For anybody that follows CAM, there's always a Blunt Monday, and I said one recently, which is, at the moment, arthritis is a inevitable terminal disease. In my lifetime, can we make it an inevitable not terminal disease? Because it's going to take a long time to breed out these genetic predispositions for joint disease. So within my lifetime, sadly, the prevalence is not likely to reduce, because this is a genetically driven developmental joint condition led disease. However, our attitude to it can change, and therefore it can go from being a terminal disease where they have a nasty endpoint with years of suffering and then euthanasia, to, oh, we've identified it early, oh, we've got a good management plan in place, oh, the dog is still comfortable, and oh my God, it's got 2 to 3 years more life of happiness. That's what I want. Next is weight, guys. Oh my God, it's just nuts. Like, I go to work and people are totally okay with these fat dogs. Our other hashtag is dog or log. You're like, where's the waste on this thing? And the smaller the breed, the worse it'll be. So the pugs are absolutely typical for looking like just Christmas sausages, aren't they? You're like, there needs to be a waistline. So let's all start looking at body conditions. Being a bit chubby ain't cute. It's a life-threatening condition. So let's sort out the weight problem. And then I think we should just really look at what we do with our dogs. Here I go. What is it with the ball flingers? How to completely disengage with your dog. As far as I'm concerned, you might as well put earphones in and walk the other direction, because that's what you're doing. Dog's not looking at you. Sorry, love. It's looking at the ball. It's not interested in you. looking at the ball. You have completely switched off all time and enjoyment together. Yeah, I just hate them. I hate them.
I agree, and I think Matt Donovan at Southwest Dog Training does his no fling February or whatever, which is a great thing. We need more awareness, things like that. I think anybody who's listening, whether you're a caregiver or whether you're a trainer, behaviourist, groomer, we're all in our local dog groups. I think a lot of this stuff has to start grassroots, right? People need to be sharing more posts. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that CAMs do individually and are already there regarding balls. And I think, from a behavioural point of view as well, almost exclusively cases that I get involved with where there's a lot of ball throwing, when we reduce stroke remove the ball, we see a big change in that dog's behavioral presentation, because they're not pumped up, they're not an adrenaline junkie, they're actually processing the environment now, and they weren't before. And especially when they're young, I think I live on a beach down here, and you see all the pups come down very quickly, on the beach, because people are going to time a puppy out or we go down the beach. When you think about what that dog needs to learn about the environment and processing and all the experimental learning, it's being taken from them, because their own experience is ball.
Yeah,
and then all the joint damage, of course, because
absolutely. I was just about to say that. Like, seriously, I when I get the chance and I'm physically able to accept how I will cripple myself making these videos, me and my friend Lindsay, also known as Lydia Yellowknickers, if she ever gets to hear this, we were going to make a series of videos of one of us pretending to be the dog in this kind of like state. And can you imagine being so fueled in your brain that you're running across rubble and stones and rocks, and your legs are slipping and sliding, and you place and it goes that way because you just want ball? You're like, oh my god, it's crazy, isn't it? You wouldn't allow your children to do it. You'd be like, they're going to hurt themselves. Why do we not think that they're going to hurt themselves?
And I think we have to look at some of these other mantras, this thing that keeps on being put out in all these memes by well-meaning trainers, often this notion that a tired dog is a happy dog, and also this thing that somehow there are some easy life hacks when you have a young dog, without recognizing that it's going to be hard when they're young. They're going to have that energy, but you've got to find appropriate outlets for it, rather than just fling, 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 fling. And interestingly, I remember
crazy.
A couple of years ago, we saw a young collie going down, literally 4 months old, when the woman was there with her wangler and that kind of thing. And now, all these years later, you can see that dog is really struggling. It's kind of tucking right through as it walks along. There's loads of kind of gait issues with this young dog. But the owners will never be aware of it until it breaks through to such a point that the dog is going to be struggling. So that's the point, that it's never too late. I know, but I'm just really thankful, as I say, for what I've learned from you and Sarah and Gemma and others, with us being able to identify early with Arthur, because it's meant the difference for him, of course.
And that's what we're all here about. Whoever has taken an hour out of their life to listen to us, it is about the dog. They bring us so much. I had a lovely grey muzzled black lab come in today, and I do have just a penchant for the older dog, and he came in and you could just see he was just superbly happy to be there. And I was like, I am honoured to be looking after you, because you have served this person for so long. We owe it to them to do better than what we do.
I love, what a great way to kind of come to the end. We do owe it them, Hannah, and I think this is where I get a little bit emotional now, because I think we are systematically, without meaning to, failing many dogs just through lack of awareness. And that's it. There's very few people are deliberately cruel. There are some,
very few.
The majority of people just aren't aware. They're not aware, and we have to keep finding better ways to increase awareness, better ways to find the right vocabulary, finding the right bridges to build so we can connect up. And CAMS is right at the heart of this, Hannah, and that's why it's been such an amazing project. And I know you're very humble and all that kind of stuff, but it takes a special person to do it, right? And you have been that person, and maybe being a bit crazy is good, right? Because you've got to think, I'm going to do all this. Even though people say, what are you doing that for? I'm going to do it anyway.
Actually, if somebody said, this is what your life will be like, I'd go, it's just like, whoa. I don't think that's what we were doing. what me and Holly started. But no matter what, I have met amazing people on the way, like you, like Sarah Fisher, like Gemma Hodson, like Kathy Murphy, you know, just fantastic people. And I feel very honoured to even be invited to something like this, because academically, I just gobby, just really gobby.
I just make it myself as I go along as well. So I know how you feel when I'm with Kathy and Laura Donaldson.
Oh gosh, she's just like a brain on cocktail sticks.
You feel like you've walked into the wrong room, don't you? You think, what am I doing in here? What am I doing here with these people?
There are a few beers though, and then she becomes stupid, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm looking forward to experiencing that. And also, in a very selfish way, I hope you stay down the southwest.
Yes,
that'd be great.
I'll be coming and visiting, parking my van on your driveway, and not leaving like Lady in the Van.
Yeah, well, we live right on the beach here, so you know you could live on the beach. Lady in the Van. I love that film. Oh my god. You have a bit of the Dame Maggie about you, so that's good.
Yeah, I know. Bit weird, eh?
Well, thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate it. So, tell us a little bit before we go then about what's happening, because there's quite a lot of exciting stuff coming up for CAMS, isn't there? About what you're going to be doing. So, give us a little taste of that before we go.
Okay, so I will big you up. Basically, CAM has got to a stage where I do not have the brain power to create the content and drive, you know, the academic and knowledge and empowerment and all of it together anymore. And I was really thinking, right, how do I move on from here? And I just thought, right, we need a group of advisors, really high-end key opinion leaders, experts, motivational, inspirational people that are going to be the board of advisors behind content going out. And Andrew is one of them, and Kathy Murphy is one of them, Corinne Crump. So we've got a group of, I think there's 16 at the moment, of inspirational people who are going to start leading content. So it's always going to be evidence-based, high-end lecture circuit material, you know, top-notch. The new website's going to launch on the 1st of December. So this is something that we've been working on for quite a while. CAM has to self-sustain now. You know, we've been giving everything away free of charge for six years. We are putting a paywall in, but what you see is still going to be available, because we still can't give, we cannot stop giving it away. So what is available will still be available, but there's going to be a membership zone for all the bows, the whistles, the added extras. And I really, really hope you guys will encourage your owners to step over a very small paywall of £25 a year. You know, it's nothing when you think about what a vet consult is. Average vet consult is about £30 to £50 now. 25 quid for a year's access to just insane content. We're doing practice training now. I've just finished an online course with reception, nurse and vets, all on separate courses that keep doing this throughout. And then there's coaching calls at the end of it. So that's literally just released. Got CAM Advocate. We're going to do level 2, which is going to be me and Kathy Murphy. Level 3, I'm hoping to do it with Matt Brunke. We've got, yeah, there's just loads. It's just never ending. What we just need to do now is get people to engage with it, to drive it. You know, the content is there. We are really beginning to resolve the communication issues, the awareness issues, the identification issues. Now use it, because that's when we're just going to see the light bulb go.
And this is important, and I would really encourage professionals listening and caregivers, obviously, but the professionals listening, to look out for how we're going to start making it a really viable and important option for people to go over that paywall, as you say, because 25 quid, less than a vet consult, going to save money probably down the line in all sorts of different things, and that increased awareness. For caregivers, we just want to know stuff, right? The stuff that I learned was just a little bit for Arthur, and it's ended up making a huge difference to his life.
Yeah, so we've got owner courses out already. So for there's CAM Essentials, which is 12 modules, each of them about 15 to 20 minutes. They cover everything from exercise to food to diagnosis to, you know, 20 quid. 20 quid. It's amounts to about 4 hours of wine drinking, watching. Then there's CAM Comprehensive, which is 35 to 40 minutes per module, and all the downloadable booklets, which are 15 downloadable booklets. So they're already available. So And if you've got an owner that really doesn't have any money to spend, because they do exist, we've got our newsletters, and one of them is 10 emails, daily emails. So every day for 10 days, they receive information that is going to change that dog's life.
Yeah.
There is, for every price bracket, it's really important to me. I grew up in a very working class family, and we had Labradors, and mum and dad wouldn't have been able to spend money on the dogs. You know, it really was hand to mouth. But if they had had the resources available, they would have watched them, and that's really important to me.
Yeah, brilliant. And this is another part of the really special vision that you've had, because it would be very easy to have just had one kind of very narrow thoroughroad that you wanted to kind of go along. But actually, you've recognized early on the interconnectivity of all this. Of course, my part in that as being one of the advisors is talking about what I like to talk about, which is the emotional experience. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for the dog and the vet? Looking at all these ways, the psychology of judgments and expectations and all these kind of things are really important. It is more than just thinking about the disease itself. It's looking at all those interconnected parts to get what we all want, which is best outcomes for the dog, really. Well, Hannah, it's always amazing. I can't believe how time's gone. We've gone a bit over, but
I can carry on talking till about midnight, knowing us.
Yeah, of course. Great. So I'm going to make sure that we get links put in this chat, but also in the main group as well. Of course, anything you do, Hannah, make sure you share it in the group, because you've got friends here for sure.
Thank you.
And great to see you. And I can't wait to be doing stuff with you. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, wait, either. It's going to be so good.
It's going to be good.
Just need to have an extra 24 hours a day at the moment.
Yeah, we could all do that. But I don't know how you do it anyway, but I'm sure you must have one of those twirly things that Hermione has from Harry Potter. You know that?
Like the bewitched thing. I've always wanted to be able to wiggle.
Oh, that would be a nice thing. Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to Hannah tonight. Next week, we've got Grisha Stewart.
Wow.
Yeah, Grisha Stewart coming next. So that's next Thursday, same time, I think. So that's going to be really amazing. We're going to be, as always, talking about a lot of stuff. But Grisha, not only is she amazing at thinking about a more supportive, care-orientated approach for working with dogs, but she's really big on the human side of the leash as well. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up there. Also, next week, I've got a bit of an early Christmas present to announce, so watch out in the group. It's all very exciting. We do like to tease, don't we, Hannah? Well, thank you again, darling, and look after yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.